We are going to be ranking every single Gobblegum in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Just a few things before we start this video. I want to let you know what criteria we're going to be ranking these Gobblegums off of, and it's very simple. I am going to be ranking these Gobblegums off of how often I use them and how much play they would actually get from me in a rotation. If it's a Gobblegum which I think is really good but I'm almost never going to use because I don't need to use it, then I'm going to rank it lower. If it's a Gobblegum which might be okay but I use it a ton, I'm going to put it higher. So just to clarify, a bad Gobblegum doesn't mean a Gobblegum I'm going to rank low, and a really good Gobblegum doesn't mean one I'm going to rank high. We'll also take into account rarity too when ranking them. And taking into account feedback from my augment ranking video, I'm pleased to say that we have a tier list on screen. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So firstly, starting off with the rare Gobblegums, we are going to be talking about stock option. This is a Gobblegum that lasts 3 minutes on activation, and it's going to make ammo come from the player's stockpile instead of the magazine. This basically means if you pop this and then start firing an AR, you're basically going to have infinite ammo until it runs out of stock ammo. So if a gun has a total of 500 bullets but only 30 in the mag, now you can shoot up to 500 bullets at once rather than having to reload. Now I am going to go and put stock option into B tier. The reason why I'm going to put it into B tier is because stock option is almost like a Free Fire Lite, but the difference is it's much more common to get and it lasts way longer. Now obviously the key difference between this and Free Fire is that Free Fire only lasts 60 seconds, but it does give you infinite ammo. But in my case with stock option here, if there is an ammo crate nearby and I have tons of points, this is basically just Free Fire because I'm going to burn those points hitting the ammo box, especially in a boss fight. So kind of a little spoiler for where Free Fire might go later on in the video, but I am going to put stock option in B tier because it would get the same amount of play from me as if I was using Free Fire. Now moving on, we're doing Anywhere But Here. Anywhere But Here is returning like most of these from Black Ops 3, and on activation it's going to teleport you to a random spot on the map. Honestly, this is really good for getting out of dodge, and I know that a lot of people would go and put this quite high because of that. However, I would almost never use this Gobblegum, and if I was, I'd probably do it for speedruns to get around the map a little faster, but even then it's super RNG. For this reason, unfortunately, I respect the drip, but Anywhere But Here is going into E tier. I would almost never use this Gobblegum, but I don't think it's bad by any means. Next up we have Temporal Gift. This is going to increase the duration of any of your power-ups that are active the next time you pick one up. The only catch-22 is that it has to be a power-up with a duration on it. So you can't make a nuke do something crazy or a max ammo, it has to be something like a double points or an insta-kill, for example. Temporal Gift is really good. It basically doubles the amount of time you're going to get, and if you're doing challenges and you need, say, an insta-kill active, this can be a real lifesaver. However, I am not a fan of having to get it and then set it up and then get the power up. I know that's a weird complaint, but for me that's something that I just really dislike having to do. So for that reason, I think Temporal Gift is really good. And yes, for double points and profit sharing, it's really nice. I am going to give it a B tier. I will put it into B tier. I'm going to put it into B tier, and I'm going to put it right with stock option because I do think that in general I would use this more than I would use stock option, so it has to go there for me. I don't think it's the craziest by any means, but there are a lot of cases where I would use it, so I'm going to stick by what I said. I'm going to put it here. Now next up we have one which is returning from Black Ops 4 where it was introduced. We have Shields Up. Shields Up is a very simple one. It's going to last 3 minutes and refill your armor on use, and it's going to make your armor twice as strong, which is actually new in this game. Now Shields Up, I must say, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because it's very good. Like, if we're ranking this on just like what it does for you as a player, I would give this an A tier. However, unfortunately, there are so many augments in this game which just make it so you don't really need Shields Up. And while it is a nice buff to have, I can't say I'd ever put this in my loadout. For that reason, I'm going to go and put Shields Up into D tier. While it is a very good Gobblegum from the perspective of design, I just don't think it has a use case in my games. Alright, next up we're going to do Killjoy. This is very simple. It spawns an insta-kill. Now this is going to be a very interesting one. Insta-kills in this game are incredible because they make it so mini-bosses take way more damage, and because of the mini-boss on high rounds and the amount of spam they have with them, it makes insta-kills very, very useful when you see them, and I actually really like the way that they balanced insta-kill in this game. So for that reason alone, I'm going to put insta-kill up into A tier. While I wouldn't always put this in my loadout, it is very handy and you can't really go wrong with it in a game if you need to kill bosses. Alright, next up is Cashback. This is going to spawn a max ammo power up on use. Now, this is going to shock some people, but Cashback is going into the top of D tier. Cashback is very, very good, and I know this is going to anger some people. However, because of ammo boxes in zombies now, I almost never reach for this Gobblegum. It's so bad, in fact, that I have 26 of these in my loadout right now, and I just straight up do not use them. I would rather get something else and just take the L on ammo, because I'm almost never going to be out of ammo due to the ammo box. And finally, the last of the rare Gobblegums, we have Arsenal Accelerator. Now, this one's interesting because Arsenal Accelerator doesn't work the same as it used to. In Black Ops 4, you could use this for your specialist and have it instantly recharge, at least that's what I remember, but in this game, it lasts 5 minutes and makes your field upgrade charge way faster. Now, it's interesting because you can call this a buff and you can call it a nerf at the same time, but for me, I feel like I'm indifferent. It sometimes feels like a buff and sometimes feels like a nerf because you can get numerous charges out of it. So in that way it's a buff, but at the same time, sometimes I just want my field upgrade there and then. I'm gonna have to put it down into D tier with Cashback and shields up, because I just would not see myself using this a lot in games, and I haven't seen myself using it a lot in games either. Alright, now we're moving on to the epic Gobblegums. So these are going to be very, very interesting, and I really think I'm going to have some controversial picks here. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Starting off first with Who's Keeping Score. This spawns a double points power up. The moment you pop it, it's just like it used to be. Everybody knows about Who's Keeping Score. I'll keep this one very simple. This is A tier for me. It's right up there with insta-kill, but it's for a different reason. This directly helps with profit sharing. If you pop this with profit sharing, you are just laughing to the bank, you and your whole team. This game is so point focused that having this with a profit sharing, just absolutely invaluable. And for the start of games, it can seriously speed up your runs. So I've got Who's Keeping Score at A tier. Love it. Really nice Gobblegum in this game. Moving on, we have Free Fire. Now, Free Fire for me is going to go right into A tier. I mentioned this earlier. It basically gives you infinite ammo for 60 seconds. It's much better than stock option is, but I could have it be interchangeable where I would use stock option or I would use Free Fire. It's really not something that I'd get too bent out of shape over. For me, they're both on the same level of use, but my only thing with Free Fire is that it just lasts not as long, so I'd rather just go with stock option. But in terms of how much use it gets, I do find myself using it more. Now moving on, we have Nowhere But Here. This is going to teleport you to a downed player so that you can revive them, and it is going to instantly revive nearby players as well. So here's the thing about this Gobblegum. This is like basically the opposite of Anywhere But Here. However, I'm going to give it the same exact ranking. I'm going to put it in E tier. I know that might really annoy people, but I've never used this Gobblegum, and I don't think I ever would need to use this Gobblegum. Let me be clear, that's what I'm ranking it off of. But one thing which I have been grateful for on my loadout is the next one we're going to talk about. This is profit sharing. Now, I spoke about this briefly with double points. Profit sharing is just really good. If you're running solo, it's almost entirely useless, but I have been running co-op quite a bit in zombies to do Easter eggs, high rounds, and grinding, and let me tell you, profit sharing is one which I never am ungrateful for when I have it in my loadout. I am always really happy when one drops in game because they are just really good. Especially, like I said, Black Ops 6 is so points heavy, so having profit sharings on you can be a very big deal, and for that reason, I'm going to put it up into A tier along with Who's Keeping Score. Absolutely. Now, next up, this one is Exit Strategy. It's going to spawn an exfil instantly, no matter what round you are on. And let me be very candid on this. This is useless to me. I hate the idea of exfil in zombies, and I never exfil unless I absolutely have to in order to get myself some daily challenges. So for that reason, exit strategy is going to go into F tier. I would never ever ever use this Gobblegum. And even if I thought this could be cool to run in my loadout, my immediate train of thought would just be go a couple another rounds and then go and get the exfil naturally. I would never ever need this Gobblegum. It genuinely should be rare. It is so, you know what, it could even be whimsical. I know it doesn't even fit that category, but the point is absolutely useless. Probably the worst use case for me on this entire list. Now, next up we have Soda Fountain. This is going to make your next perk that you purchase give you an additional random perk. I'm going to put this into S tier. The reason why is because this is basically just on the house light. It's really easy to get in comparison to those Ultra Gobblegums or even the Legendary Gobblegums because it is a lower rarity. And also, it's just very handy. Because the prices of perks in this game scale, you're able to go up to a perk and say, okay, should I have this now or should I save it for later and get it with Soda Fountain? Soda Fountain is very good. It's a way to save yourself money, and it's even a way on maps like Liberty Fall, before the Deadshot spawns in through the Wonder Fizz, you can get it with Soda Fountain. So, very good, very useful, really handy for setting up games. I really like Soda Fountain in this game. And then finally, with our last Gobblegum, we're going to be talking about Respin Cycle. Now, this Gobblegum, I used to like it in Black Ops 3. I thought it was fairly decent. In Black Ops 6 Zombies, unfortunately for me, Respin Cycle is going to go down into D tier. I don't think it's totally useless to me, and I don't think it's totally useless as a Gobblegum. It is nice to respin the box and get another hit at that weapon. However, I just very rarely ever need to use this Gobblegum. Now, we're starting into the Legendary Gobblegums now. This is going to be very interesting. But nonetheless, the next one is Idolize. This is going to last 30 seconds and make every zombie in the game ignore players, and that includes your teammates for the record, and stand completely still. This is super good for boss fights or even just Easter egg steps that you need to do where you need to maybe defend something like the water valve step on Liberty Falls, or even like doing the diffusal bomb steps for Terminus. I am going to put Idolize up into S tier. While it's not something I use all the time, whenever I do need a use case for just being ignored by zombies, this does it perfectly, as it literally should, because that's the point of the Gobblegum. But what I'm saying here is that this is extremely valuable to you and your team. It's super good for DPS phases, it's super good for staying out of dodge, it is super good for buying yourself time, just an all-round really nice Gobblegum. And I also appreciate the particle effects they use to symbolize to your team that they are in it. Now, next up we have Phoenix up. This is going to instantly revive all teammates if they're downed, and they will keep all of their perks. Really good Gobblegum overall, again returning from the previous games. It is really just one of those Gobblegums that you put on, but it is situational. You know it's situational. For me, because of how situational Phoenix Up is, I usually just work with the teams to get a different game plan instead of needing someone to put this on in case they need it. I must say, I've got to put Phoenix Up into C tier. I think that it is very good, and I think I could use it, but I haven't needed to yet, and I don't think I'm going to need to for a while. But the reason I'm going to allow it to stay in C tier at the very least is because of how valuable I know this Gobblegum can be, and I'm not going to write it off completely like I will with others. But nonetheless, moving on, we have On the House, and earlier I ranked Soda Fountain at S tier, which means On the House is obviously going into S tier also. You could argue that this is actually worse than Soda Fountain because you're only getting one perk and not two, and I think that is totally valid. For me, they're on the exact same level. I don't care which one I pop. If it's Soda Fountain, if it's On the House, I will use either of them because I think both of them are valuable in their own way. And especially in the case of On the House, why it deserves to be an S tier for me is because it affects your entire team. It spawns a free perk power up and everybody on the team gets it. And for that reason, I have to put On the House into S tier alongside Soda Fountain. Now, moving on, we have Immolation Liquidation. This is going to surprise people. I am going to put Immolation Liquidation, which spawns fire sale power-ups, into D tier. The reason why I'm putting Immolation Liquidation into D tier is because I think this is the worst possible variation we've ever seen of this Gobblegum. Whenever I use this in game, I don't know what it is, and I guess it's not even this Gobblegum's fault. It really does feel like to me in Black Ops 6 that the fire sales last drastically shorter than they used to. I don't know if I'm going crazy or not, but that's how it feels to me. I genuinely feel like these never last. Whenever I pop them, it just feels like they last maybe 10-20 seconds at most, and I get maybe 2 or 3 box hits out of them. And so for that reason, yeah, I have to put this in at this spot. And next up we have War Power. Now, War Power is going to surprise a lot of people, I think, with my ranking of it. In fact, I want you to pause the video and let me know in the comment section down below, where do you think I'm going to rank War Power? I am going to put War Power into S tier. I think because Warbuys upgrade rarity in this game over time, it's really valid to put this into S tier. Because for me, a lot of the time, I do want to switch out stuff to do challenges on high rounds, and getting a head start on the gun that I want. Sometimes it is always just the pistols, the shotguns, but having that head start of getting it papped off the wall, and especially for speedruns at the start of the game too, I did use this for my Liberty 4 sub 30 speedrun. I think War Power is genuinely invaluable whenever you need it, and I need it fairly often. I will never turn down War Power if I get it dropped to me, which is interesting because in Black Ops 3 I kind of feel the opposite about this Gobblegum. But in Black Ops 6 the use case for it jumps for me, and yeah, I think this is perfectly valid. Now, we have 2 more legendary Gobblegums to go. The first one is going to be Crate Power, so we're going to rank this, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think Crate Power, for the same reason as War Power, makes it into S tier for me. I'm going to put it right next to War Power. I really enjoy using this in games. It is always something which I find very valuable because, again, if I'm hitting the box a bunch, I'm usually hitting for a specific weapon, and if I find that weapon, you bet that I'm going to pap it with Great Power. And this usually includes stuff like the LR Sniper Rifle, and the Mustang and Sally, or the GS45s I think they're called when they're unupgraded, but yeah, you get the point. These two right next to each other, very great, very valuable to me. And lastly, for the legendary Gobblegums, we're going to be talking about wall-to-wall clearance. This is going to last 30 seconds and let weapon warbuys cost 10 points. Now, I think this is a very useful Gobblegum, don't get me wrong. However, I feel so mean doing this, but genuinely, I think I'd have to put this into E tier. Now, I might use this in the future, but I just, as of right now, have never needed this. I'm sure if I popped it, it would help me and my team a lot, but I just don't think I would ever need to. There's so much other choices in this game, and so many other ways you can get OP really quick. I don't think I'd want to put this on and then try to pop a Gobblegum just to get a war weapon like that. I think I'd just rather just go and buy it at that point than put a Gobblegum on. Is that weird? Does that make me weird? Anyway, taking a little break here before we get into the Ultra Gobblegums, let's do the Whimsicals. So there's only 2 Whimsicals in the game as of right now. You get these from exfilling in your games, and so let's just rank them fairly quickly. So first of all, we have Indigestion, which lasts 3 minutes, and it basically makes it so that any zombie you kill, they just start farting a bunch. They start letting out gas. I mean, I feel bad for ranking these. I'm gonna put them into F tier, not because I don't use them, but because it feels wrong to rank Whimsicals around these. They're just kind of jokes. But the other one is Newtonian Negation, which makes these zombies fall up when you kill them. They just basically have anti-gravity. This one's actually very cool, very well done. I like the added effects on them in this game compared to the others. I'm sure we're going to get Quacknarok back at some point as well. But yeah, I'm going to put these into F tier just because they're Whimsicals. I mean, yeah. So, ending the video off, we're going to be talking about the Ultra Gobblegums. We saved, hopefully, the best for last, so what do I think about them? Let's get right into it with Near-Death Experience. In Black Ops 3, Near-Death Experience was one of the most broken, probably the most broken Gobblegum in the game. It made it so that if you just simply walk by friends, you would revive them, and it just made boss fights impossible to lose. It truly was a game-breaking Gobblegum, and luckily it's been balanced a lot better in Black Ops 6. So, Near-Death Experience will last 3 minutes or 5 revives or upon popping it, and it makes it so, yeah, you can just revive or be revived by being near other players, and you'll keep all your perks on revive. Despite it being nerfed in this game, although for the better, I still have to put near-death experience up into A tier. Now, it doesn't make S tier for me, because I just don't find myself ever really needing it. This might change in the future, which is why it's crucial to me that it stays here in A, because it's interchangeable. I could put this into A, I could put this into S, and I wouldn't be mad with either choice. I'm putting it into A because of the reduced use that I have with it as of right now, but in the future this could completely change for me, and I think if you put it into S, that would be totally justifiable. This is a really, really handy Gobblegum to use if you're in boss fights or any other tense situation. Now, next up we have Wonder Bar. I was really scared when I saw this because I thought it was a little too far, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if they should be doing this with the Gobblegums in Black Ops 6, but basically it makes the next weapon from the mystery box be a guaranteed wonder weapon. And this is actually a tough one to rank for me because it doesn't always give you the wonder weapon. But for an example of what I'm talking about here, the ray gun is classified as a wonder weapon, as it should be, but so is the beam smasher, so is the jet gun. So when you pop Wonder Bar and roll the box, it's a 50-50 chance on what you're actually going to get, and sometimes this can actually screw you over. For example, in the Liberty Falls speedrun, I wanted the jet gun from the box, I used Wonder Bar and got the ray gun, and I only had one of them, so it kinda screwed me over there and ruined my run. So it's hard to rank this accurately for me. I will give it A tier because when it works, and to be fair, it never really doesn't work. You do get a wonder weapon 100% of the time, but 50% of the time it's the one that you don't want. So I'm gonna put it in A tier. If it always gave you the non-ray gun wonder weapon, I'd have to put this in S tier. Maybe in the future they'll split these into two gums, and one's for the ray gun and one's for the map wonder weapon. I'm not sure, but yeah, gotta put this into A tier just because sometimes it can screw you over. Next up, we're going to do Hidden Power. This is going to instantly turn your held weapon into a legendary rarity, and straight up, this is the easiest S tier of my life. Just a really, really good Gobblegum. There's almost no downside to using this at any point in your game. It is just very, very handy, and every time I get one, I get a little tickle inside me. I get some aura, some motion. It is just very, very good. I love this Gobblegum. Really, really good idea. Now, next up, we have the returning raindrops. I am going to put raindrops in... I'm going to put raindrops in B tier, honestly. Now, this is interesting because I think that raindrops is really, really good. And I know I'm going to get a lot of comments saying, Epic, how can you put On the House into S tier when raindrops literally has On the House built into it? My friends, allow me to explain. First of all, the rarity difference. There is a jump up in rarity here, making this an even rarer Gobblegum to get your hands on. So you're going to see it less purely off of that, which instantly for me drops it down a tier. On top of that, the thing with raindrops for me is that sometimes I genuinely just don't want half of the power-ups it's dropping me, and picking them up when I don't want them just feels wrong, and it makes me feel like I got scammed. I know that might sound weird, but it really does put me off of this Gobblegum sometimes. There are just moments where I would rather just get a double points power-up, or I would rather just get an insta-kill power-up, but dropping this Gobblegum only for the sake of a fire sale, for example, which I've done sometimes, or only for the sake of a perk power-up, which I've done sometimes, just feels wrong and makes me feel like I've wasted a Gobblegum, which I'll let you decide if I have or haven't, but the point is it makes me feel bad, and that's why I can't put raindrops into A or higher, because a lot of the time I just find myself using it for other power-ups it's going to drop, and not all of them as a collective. But nonetheless, that is going to be the controversial pick of the video, I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Maybe hashtag justice for raindrops. We'll get that trending. Now, the last Gobblegum we're going to be ranking is Perkaholic. This one should be fairly obvious for you that know me. If you don't know me, this is going to come as a shock to you. Ending off the video, I'm going to put Perkaholic into D tier. Now, I'm only kidding, it's going into the top of S tier because Perkaholic is just as it was in Black Ops 3, absolutely freaking broken. And one thing that's actually funny to me is that in Black Ops 4 there was a lot of drama around Perkaholic because it would randomly select certain perks to give you. But no, in this game you get every single perk when you pop it. Maybe that will change after launch, I don't know. But it's just really, really good. There's not too much to say about Perkaholic. Everybody knows how it works. You pop it, you get every single perk in the map. It's just good. It is a net positive, not a net negative. There is no negatives to popping this Gobblegum. And almost everybody that has ever laid eyes on Perkaholic knows if you see this drop for you, whether that's in Dr. Monty's factory or if it's in-game in Black Ops 6, you are in for a treat. And with that, I think it's the perfect way to end off this Gobblegum ranking. Perkaholic in S tier, as it should be. Now I can't wait for them to add shopping free post-launch and everybody lose their minds. But anyway, that's going to do it for my ranking of all the Gobblegums in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. How did I do? And also notice that this time we actually went in order through every category. Thank you for the feedback on my last video. I really do appreciate that. But gamers, on that note, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much. Please sub to the channel so you get notified of more videos when we post them. We are trying to hit 60k by the end of the year. And leave a like because it helps us out in the YouTube algorithm, and so does a comment. So please, let me know what your personal tier list would be for all of the Ultra Gobblegums, and I'll be sure to give you my take on them in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll check you all in the next one.